Freedom Radio Hour. Live on Capital Radio 91.6 FM.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Freedom Radio Hour. I'm your host, Adam Cruz, and I'm here with my fantastic co-host,
Eddie Nicholas. Welcome to 91.6 FM, the heartbeat of Sedan, and DWildMusic.com.
DWildMusicRadio.com. Oh, my God. I know, we don't have to do that again.
Let's do it again.
Let's take a moment to let our listeners and our viewers know that the Freedom Radio Hour is here, not only giving you fantastic music, but we're here to be your number one source for music business news and trends from around the globe. Brother, I have to give you some updates. Let's start from the top and keep work our way through.
Yes.
In a prior episode, we were discussing a lawsuit that had been filed against Spotify. There are actually two. The lawsuits are around the royalties that Spotify pays. You see, they're a streaming outfit, Spotify is. But from your phone, you do have the ability to download whatever you're streaming onto your phone, right? So the lawsuit is saying, hey, Spotify, you being a streaming outfit, you have to pay performance royalties, okay? But because you offer from your phone the ability to download the product onto your device, you have to also pay mechanical royalties because that's for the download, correct? So Spotify is saying, we don't have to pay that. We're a streaming outfit. We pay just performance royalties. Beat it. However, the counter argument is, well, you have settled in prior cases with other outfits where you've had to settle on the amount that you pay in mechanical royalties. For an outfit like you, Spotify, that claims that you're not to pay mechanicals, you sure are quick to settle in the end, at the end of these lawsuits, and you do, in fact, will end up paying mechanical royalties. So they're going back and forth on this. In a prior episode, we broke that down. But the latest update is evidently bands like Rage Against the Machine, Tom Petty, and others are jumping in because what they're saying is that there should not be any sort of settlement. It should be pump the brakes, in other words, because they're saying if you end up settling, you're going to keep this ball going. Spotify will continue this argument in perpetuity. That means forever, to say we don't have to pay mechanicals, and then they'll settle. And it's basically, in the end, they pay roughly $3.82 per song that's infringed. So these artists are kind of banding together to fight not only Spotify, but any outfit that is using this kind of legal argument. So I had to bring that to your attention because we used to argue that the future might look like all these outfits will come up and they'll say, we're only paying the performance royalties and we're only getting paid a fraction of a penny per stream anyway. And so over the time, they'll make a lot of money and then pay us even less. But it sounds like maybe the tide is shifting.
Yeah, because from what I'm hearing from you, said something about $3 and some change per
alleged composition that's been infringed.
So that's a heck of a lot more than the percentage of pennies we was getting for streams. So, well,
that's an interesting perspective.
Because when you're looking at it, we're talking about each stream we get, 0.7 or something.
It's like 0.07 per stream.
Per stream. Whereas in this case, for the mechanical downloads itself, you're getting
closer to $4.
Closer to $4, which is 1,000% markup.
Right. Interesting. Cases. But I guess they won't be ready to dish out any sort of payment to anybody without appealing it over and over and exhausting whatever legal avenues that they have afforded to them. But it does. That's a really interesting point.
And again, from them doing all that settling, wouldn't that one would think that would eventually set a pattern where if they're brought before a judge, which evidently with people winning previous cases against them, it already has been proven.
Right. That sets a precedent.
Yes, set a precedent.
Yeah.
So with that setting a precedent, I think they're getting ready to knock heads with some of their own rules and regulations that they do in the settling and the paying out of money. So,
and that's a really great point. And further to that, you know that not only Spotify, but you have Tidal, Apple Music, you have Amazon, you have other outfits that have all jumped quickly on the streaming game. Even Amazon has this ecosystem that if you buy their little speaker system, you could stream all unlimited music on the Amazon site for like less than $3 a month. So all this is going on. There's the continued devaluation of music, and then there's these arguments about how much less they ought to be paying. So there is the question on the table of whether we should allow these outfits to settle, because we will get closer to that $4 per composition that's been infringed, as opposed to continuing this sort of ineffective fight for less than a penny per stream.
We have to have 1,000 plays just in order to get what? $100.
Well, listen, that brings us to the next point, because there's another update about YouTube and their issue with value gap. You see, in Europe, they have the European Commission, and they were supposed to spend a portion of the summer arguing around the issue about value gap. That's
now,
how.
Speaking of, I was going to say, let people know what value gap is.
That's basically YouTube, how much they make in advertising versus how much they pay out in royalties to the free listens that people take advantage of on YouTube. If you go on YouTube, you could just listen to anything, and but you have to sit through an advertisement. So YouTube is making billions of dollars and paying out a fraction of that in royalties to the artists. So we're going to take a break and come back and talk more about why you should be aware of YouTube and some interesting inner workings around the European Commission right here on the Freedom Radio Hour.
91.6 FM, the heartbeat of Sydney.
And DWAPmusicradio.com. Come back.
Freedom Radio Hour. Live on Capital Radio 91.6 FM.
What a beautiful people, and welcome back to 91.6 FM, the heartbeat of Sudan. I'm one of your hosts, Eddie Nicholas, and I'm here with my fantastic co-host and the collaborator, the man with all the knowledge to know, the one and only
Adam Cruz, hardly. You're so funny. You're deep in the zone right here on the Freedom Radio Hour. We're your #1 source for music business news and trends from around the globe. Yes, as my brother said, we are on Capital Radio as well as DWAPmusicradio.com. Before we broke, we were explaining YouTube's problem with value gap. Again, that's the billions of dollars that YouTube makes in advertisings to support the free music that you listen to or watch in the forms of music videos on YouTube. Because if you go search for a song on YouTube, you don't pay a dime, but you have to sit through an ad. You could sometimes skip it after a while. You got to wait till the end of the ad.
About 2 minutes.
And nobody cares. They'll sit and wait.
Seconds or whatever.
Yes. And they'll listen or watch whatever they're enjoying in terms of music. So YouTube has made billions in advertising, and they pay out a fraction in terms of the royalties to artists. It equates to about $1 a user. But that's nothing. That's a drop in the bucket for YouTube that's making billions while they're paying out a paltry amount to us artists. So in Europe, they're arguing this whole thing, and they're working with the European Commission. Now, this is a very interesting thing. I was noticing, I'm like, when are they going to publish their reports or their arguments that they've made over the summer? They kept saying, we're going to have a talk and address this over the summer. Well, it's now the fall. And there's been no real attempts at publishing a sort of report that really breaks down what their findings were. Well, as it happens, we have to go back a little bit because you're going to gag. So 2014, European Commission commissions a report on the effects of illegal digital downloading and piracy and its effects on sales. You see, for the longest time, if you were a person that put out music and your product was available illegally, there was this very strong argument that now people are going to buy the product less when it actually is available legitimately, because why would you pay for what you can get illegally for free, right? Well, they commissioned a report. And the very interesting thing, and that started in 2014, they paid $428,000 for this study.
Enough to build a community.
Listen, that's what I say. And then in 2015, they quietly buried this report.
Because of the findings?
Well, so one argues that they were in a big of a shuffle and restructuring around that period, which might lend itself to a more innocent oversight. But the rest of us, with clear side eye vision like this, are looking at the situation suspiciously, because the finding was this: that there was no real effect of illegal piracy and the sales of music, nor was there any real effects of illegal downloading of books, illegal downloading of video games, and movies, with the exception of Hollywood blockbuster. Those are those big budget, big earner films, usually around the summer and holiday times. Those were the ones that were in fact negatively affected. But they are saying, some are alleging that the reason why that report that was finally done that was done in 2014 and then put to kind of bed or hidden in 2015 was because that was against their agenda. They were hoping to have the finding that said, because of illegal downloads and illegal piracy now, sales have plummeted. And in actuality, that's not the case. What do you think of that?
From Tony's alternative fact kind of quotes I'm seeing. So we're dealing with alternative facts.
It seems very interesting that this is happening. I want to get your thought about that and how it relates to value gap, because we're depending on the European Commission to really do a good job on the behalf of artists to see if they can't up our payments. Because
something more equitable with what we
because
do.
YouTube is making billions. Why can't we enjoy the fruits of our labor by virtue of YouTube making money on advertising off the backs of our music?
And then YouTube has the nerve to want to offer a prescription service.
Listen.
For an individual to have to also pay into that just so they don't have to see the advertising.
Well, the interesting thing, I did my due diligence and I haven't found this answer, but I will be researching it further and I will report back. But I was interested to find out who funds the European Commission. And I have a working theory that I haven't proven yet, so don't come and blast me for it because it is speculation. But I wonder if the European Commission is either funded by some sort of lobbying group that it would behoove them to hide these kinds of reports, like a music lobbying group, or
like many of our lobbyists here in the United States.
Yeah, or something like that. When you look and do a simple Google search on who funds the European Commission, they said they are funded by many sources. Which makes me say the same thing, because usually in these instances it says, "Oh, it's funded by the United whatever,"
United something.
Something that's kind of more clear. When you say many sources,
something that has some type of government official title.
Exactly, or it's simplistic in its funding source, so that there's not a lot of webs. It's not a lot of branches to it, you know. And so I found that to be a really fascinating thing. We have to keep abreast about this argument. They were supposed to be fighting on our behalf over the summer, and it's taken quite a bit of time to let us know.
But you know, when we often find out, when people claim that they're fighting for us, they're not fighting for us as artists. They're fighting for their own paychecks in their own pockets, in their own prescription of what they see is best for them.
And they might be working in conjunction with a lobbying group that pays them lovely to keep their mouth quiet about these particular findings, because it is inconvenient to their agenda. Anyway, let's take another break. When we come back, I want to break down Facebook and something that I noticed that you might need to know about right here on the Freedom Radio Hour.
91.6 FM, the heartbeat of Sudan. BWildmusicradio.com.
Yes.
Freedom Radio Hour.
And we're back live on Capital Radio 91.6 FM, the heartbeat of Sudan, and on the web at dwildmusicradio.com. You're deep in the zone right here on the Freedom Radio Hour, your #1 source for music, business news, and trends from around the globe. I'm here with my fantastic partner,
Eddie Nicholas. What up, beautiful people, and welcome back with us with 91.6 FM.
Yes.
We were talking about
Facebook.
fair use in Facebook.
Yes. All right, so let's break this down a little bit. So I had to talk about this in this segment, that there seems to be a trend amongst our DJ and artist communities where they go Facebook Live. That is that opportunity. You could click the live button on Facebook from your device and you can go live at your events or wherever you are, right? However, you have to be very careful not to infringe copyright, specifically around the music that's heard during the live broadcast. And what Facebook will do is send you a warning, and then they will remove that live feed.
If you choose not to delete it.
If you choose not to delete it, correct. But there's been this trend, and I want to debunk it once and for all. The trend is when you post on Facebook Live, there usually is the words that say something to the effect of, "I do not own the rights to this music." And so there seems to be, that went viral for whatever reason. Someone along the line started that, and many of us think that if we place this tag on our live feed, that either it will allow us not to be removed or deleted or put in Facebook jail, as they say. That's another way of saying that Facebook will block you from being able to go live. And I understood when in my research, in our research here, that this started as part of trying to become fair use, and we have to break down what fair use is. What is fair use?
So, I'm going to read to you what is fair use. The fair use defense was created to limit the scope of copyright through an equitable rule of reason. The statute provides, in relevant part, that the fair use of a copyrighted work, including such use by reproduction and copies, for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, or research, is not considered an infringement for fair use.
So that sounds like, to me, I think that's pretty good, just to get that piece out. So it sounds like what I hear you saying is that in order to be eligible for fair use, you have to be, it has to be under the auspices of scholarship, education, research, news reporting.
Newsworthy.
Right? So that, in our world, it's like if you come across an article, NPR, a post, or whatever, that's educational in nature, you can share that post without having to get permission from that news outlet. And that's fair use. But that does not apply when it comes to music copyright infringement. So when I'm here to say that I am debunking this idea that if you put that tagline of "I do not own the right to this music," that somehow you're in step with fair use. That's not what that is. So please stop doing that. Or thinking, some people think that, oh, I read a post once, somebody said, as soon as I started using that tagline, they stopped messing with me, meaning that they didn't issue a takedown, nor did they warn you. But I argue that that's a ticking time bomb. In other words, that's you're about two more steps.
You got away with it that time.
Yes, you're about 2 more steps before they will go ahead and delete and then block you. The other thing I wanted to demystify or debunk is this notion of writing an open letter to Mark Zuckerberg. Some of our DJs and artists that have been in Facebook jail for an extended period of time because of their perceived excessive infringement of copyright will write a letter to Mark Zuckerberg, the owner of Facebook, to say, Mr. Zuckerberg, I'm here, I'm in good faith, I'm not trying to steal the music, I just did it, I don't understand, it's been this X amount of time. They do not care.
And like he's sitting up there reading all these things.
Mark Zuckerberg is not reading your post. So please save your energy. He is not reading your post.
Oh, we need to look and see. Adam Cruz hit us up and he's complaining that he's been like, well,
right. Let's go ahead.
We need to get our lawyers on this to get him out.
And that's not the case at all. Basically, the reason why this is not fair use is music is copyright protected, right? And that's not under education or scholarship or news reporting.
Unless you have those songs that have gone into like the birthday song or something, which we also had issues with.
That's called public domain.
Public domain.
So songs that you do not need to be cleared. There are such things as royalty-free music that you can purchase, so that if you play it, Facebook already has their algorithms and such set so that those particular songs are not flagged.
Now, you used a very charming word.
What's that? Algorithms.
That people know what that is.
Yeah, that's basically like a set of mathematical equations to help try to target instances of copyright infringement. And they have nothing to do with a person that's sitting there sniffing around to see if you're going to infringe on copyright and click, click, click. These are algorithms. Like, they work similarly when you buy a product on, say, Amazon or another. If you ever notice on the bottom it says people that purchase this also purchase that, that's an algorithm at work. That's basically mathematical equations that say X amount of people bought Britney Spears, and so if they bought Britney Spears,
they also bought this,
like Demi Lovato or something. That's what's at play. So I want to debunk this notion that fair use applies to copyright infringement. It does not. So while you might be happy and you feel cozy inside to write those words, I do not own the right to this music, it does not mean anything in terms of protecting you from being blocked or removed from the ability to go live on Facebook.
Yes, and if on Facebook, if you get blocked, you are in jail for at least 2 to 3 days.
And some are months, because I have a business partner of mine that's been in Facebook jail for months because...
Well, then he's been a repeat offender.
Exactly. He's a perceived habitual offender of copyright infringement.
Facebook has been able to target that whenever he puts something up
Well, that's
automatically
simple. That's
takes it
another
down.
algorithm at work. Okay, Eddie Nicholas has infringed copyright. We warn him 1, 2, 3, whatever their 1, 2, 3 strikeout rule is, and now you're in jail for whatever it's determined time. And then some find that from one moment to the next, after they've ignored it after a while, that they're now able to. Alternatively, I wanted to say quickly that if you are tired of that happening to you and you want to continue live broadcasting, there are other ways to do it. For example, look into Instagram. They offer live broadcasting now. Twitter does live broadcasting now. Apps like Periscope, if you download Periscope, that also gives you the opportunity to go ahead and go live broadcast. And it doesn't mean that eventually they're not going to catch up to you, but at least these other outfits don't seem to be as stringent as Facebook is at the moment.
And also be aware, because I think with Instagram, your live post only stays up for 24 hours.
Oh, see?
And then it's no longer available.
Right. That's like Snapchat. If you do something, it'll fade away after a while. That's all the time we have today. I hope you learned a little something here. Definitely check out EddieNicholas.com, DJAdamCruz.com, and of course, leave a comment under everything we're posting at FreedomRadioHour.com. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great weekend and a great week ahead. We'll see you next time.
Yes, we will. 91.6 FM, the heartbeat of Sedan. Peace and love.
BWAPmusicradio.com, y'all. See you guys next time. Peace.